goes away. We're proud of who we are. There's a tonight. There's a thousand tonight. There's a one goes away. We're proud of who we are.
Boy, but they don't get me that. Damu tu jam that go tifu fukuta brook food. My telephone they ring, make a answer my phone call. But you know the go so they say they don't block you. Like them when they say to the man no fee hide. I do this for talk, you go know. Language so sweet, easy and unique. Everywhere we go, we united. Everybody feeling delighted. Each time I talk in my dialect, I did make them feel so excited. Anytime they feeling legit.
Can't give me man for me, love you like one. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. There's a tonight. There's a thousand tonight. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. Can't give me man for me, love you like one. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. There's a tonight. There's a thousand tonight. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. Let's see, guys, let's get to the door. But when it goes up, right now we are watching go. But when it goes up, let's see, guys, let's get to the door. But when it goes up, right now we are watching go. But when it goes up,
Once saw your eat and give us a return give us. Now so everybody feeling me like I'm rolling on the beat like that. Bounce so boy back in the day. When did the man the key we were beating me? Who no be no samba? She swagger for Salah and December. Anuba, mami hala for Kona. Yakate for party for disaster. Once so I may you like a song. Some sang a veyo you fuck a fa. I love it, now we really give a. You ban the sun, basang. Once so I may you like a song. Some sang a veyo you fuck a fa. I love it, now we really give a. You ban the sun, basang.
can't give me man for me, love you like one. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. There's a tonight. There's a thousand tonight. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. Let's see, guys, let's get to the door. But when it goes up, right now we are watching go. But when it goes up, let's see, guys, let's get to the door. But when it goes up, right now we are watching go. But when it goes up,
So I think you can look at song. Some sang a veyo you fuck a.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, Loveline. Hi, Diana, Maria Goretti, Florence, Mami's here. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for being on time. As usual, I'm going to spend another minute just sharing as much as I can so more people can join us. So if you can kindly share us as widely as you can, I would really appreciate that. So I'm going to leave you again with Witty Minstrel and be proud. See you shortly.
One song, veyo you drink a song. Drum song a veyo you funky fa. I love it, la we licky fa. Anuba.
can't give me man for me, love you like one. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. There's a tonight. There's a thousand tonight. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. Can't give me man for me, love you like one. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who we are. There's a tonight. There's a thousand tonight. There's no one goes away. We're proud of who
and she is very proud of who she is. Our guest of tonight is joining us shortly. She's already backstage waiting, and I'm really excited. Thank you guys so much for joining the Woman Experience. Good evening, welcome. My name is Goretti. I'm your host, and typically the way it works on the Woman Experience, if you're new today, if you're here because of our guest of tonight, is it's a very interactive show. I am the host, and then I've got my first guest, who is the main guest of the night, and then you watching on your phone, your tablet, your iPad, whichever device it is you're watching via, you are my third guest. And like I said earlier, it's a very interactive show. We believe very much in learning through our shared experiences, and so we need you. If a question is asked, if you've got an answer to it, if you've got a question, if you've got a suggestion, if you've got a resource to share, just leave it in the comments. And I want to reiterate that this platform is a judgment-free zone. We keep it very respectful here. It is very, very important to the TWE community. We learn through our shared experiences by respecting every single member of this community's experiences, if that is clear enough. So I thank you very much for spending your Wednesday evening with us. And without further ado, I'm just going to bring my guest on, because I know that so many of you are dying. This beautiful young lady is joining us from Manchester. So welcome to the show, Kiki Bandy. Hi, Kiki.
Hello. Hi. I'm just trying to figure out if my light is okay. Like, I've rushed to do my makeup. I was cooking conchave, I was just telling Goretti the backstage that I was cooking conchave, and I don't know if I switched off the gas or it's still on. So yeah, bear with me as I rumble through this whole conversation.
Like I've told you, you look, I mean, the light is great, isn't it, guys?
I just feel a bit funny, like it doesn't, like I've brushed my makeup. This, I think, is this particular light. I don't know if it's this one. It's really harsh, and everything just looks a bit brown. So yeah.
But then you're a brown skin girl. In my voice. It's really good to have you on the show, Kiki. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, as I should be, given the circumstances, with the coronavirus and every other thing. But yeah, I'm just okay. I can't complain, because a lot of people are going through a lot of stuff. For example, I did see the news in Lebanon when you had the massive explosion. Yes, and I did see as well that one of my KB readers experienced that firsthand. She was crying, she was in her house, she was filming, everything was down, so yeah. So I'm doing good given the circumstances.
I mean, in everything they say, you have to find a reason to be thankful, because people are having it worse than you at every given time.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm really happy you're here, Kiki. For those who don't know Kiki, I'm going to do a formal introduction of who our guest of today is. Kiki Kiki Bandy Kiki. We call her Kiki, right? I mean, your millions of fans across the globe call you Kiki. You prefer to your Bandy Kiki, and Kiki she considers herself a serial entrepreneur, right?
Of course, definitely. Yeah, even by name, not by bank account, please. By name, yeah. But yeah.
But don't worry, with time you'll reflect on the back account.
Of course. It's the brand, isn't it?
And you've done a very fabulous job with the brand. I mean, Cameroonians initially met you as a blogger. That's how we were introduced to you via Kinaka's blog, which was one of the foremost, most controversial blogs that we had. I think people compared it to be the Linda Ikeji of Nigeria, which to me is a big compliment, because that lady has been able to do amazing things with that platform. And so you were known for giving the really controversial stories. And I love that about you, but you've evolved to that. You've become so many other things. You are now an entrepreneur, and like you said, maybe not yet in bank account, but I mean, you're doing amazing. When I was doing my research on her, I found that you own Kikum Consulting.
Kikum Consulting is like Juju, but in Lamso is Kikum.
Oh wait, so Juju in Lamso is Kikum.
Yeah, Kikum. I wanted to name it Juju Consulting, but unfortunately for me, somebody already registered that in the UK. So the company house couldn't let me register that, so I just said Kikum Consulting then.
Okay, that's
which is Lamso for Juju. Juju, not like as in witchcraft, but traditional. Exactly. Yeah.
That's great. And then you're also the co-founder of Rem Clan, which is a gender-neutral online African clothing company that's inspired by everything LGBTQ and African.
Oh, yes.
You're gonna have to educate me here. When you say a gender-neutral online clothing line, what does that look like?
A gender-neutral online clothing platform is when you don't have a T-shirt, for example, because I do sell a lot of T-shirts, like masculine or feminine is just gender-neutral. So anybody else can wear it. Anybody who identifies as female, male, non-binary as well can wear that particular outfit. That makes sense. So it doesn't reflect, it's not about a particular gender wearing it. For example, now if you do go to a shop and you're trying on eyeglasses or glasses, and then they say that it's unisex, isn't it? That's what they say in the UK. So it's like for everybody. It doesn't have to be a particular gender and all that. Yeah.
Oh, so in other words, gender neutral is unisex.
Not exactly, because unisex, in my opinion, unisex only involves male and female. But then again, because of the evolvement of identities and all that, we do have non-binary, we do have female, we do have male, we do have other stuff. So yeah. So it's gender neutral. Like, we're not assigning a particular gender to this outfit. So you can buy it whatever gender you are.
Okay. I hope you guys got that. But Kiki is also an LGBTQ activist and is very, very vocal about issues around the community, around that community, right? And also, what I was also impressed to find out is you're a trustee for the UK Lesbian and Gay Immigration Group and the Black Beetle Health Trustee. What's the Black Beetle Health Trustee?
The Black Beetle Health organization is an organization that's trying to bridge the gap between Black queer people and the way they're treated within the healthcare system in the UK. If that makes sense. And just the disparity between Caucasians and Black queer people within the healthcare system. And when it comes to the UK immigration, lesbian immigration group, it's all about people seeking asylum. So for example, if you're Cameroonian and you're queer, or you're homosexual, because people understand homosexuality more than queerness based on our local community, isn't it? So if you're seeking asylum, we do have support, lawyers, we have emotional support, mental support, because there's a lot of that going on as well. You know, but yeah, so definitely, yeah.
Oh wow, that is amazing. So with all of this, Kiki, if I asked you, who is the Bandy Kiki? Who do you consider yourself to be?
I would simply say that Bandy Kiki is a philanthropist. Bandy Kiki is an LGBTQ activist, and Bandy Kiki is an entrepreneur. Simply, you know. I would, you know, they're all the other layers of me, obviously, but they're much more private than public, and things that I really want to keep to myself.
Okay, I get that. We all need to keep something at least to ourselves. So I get you very much. Kiki, when you left Cameroon and you came to the UK, what was your dream? What were your dreams?
When I left Cameroon to come to the UK, I was coming to the UK to study a degree in microbiology. And initially back in Cameroon, I started a degree in geology, and it didn't go well. And I've always wanted to be a cardiologist. So my dream was like, go do microbiology here in the UK, switch to something a bit more favorable for the career that I wanted. And things didn't pan out the way I wanted. In a way, my parents have always seen the creative side of me. You know, because even though I was very good at science, I am very good at science. I'm not saying that to brag, by the way. You know, my parents have always imagined me being some type of a journalist or a writer, or, you know, my late mom said that. So yes, when I came to the UK, that was the dream, but things didn't pan out the way I wanted them to pan out. And in a way, being in the UK and being in an environment that was less judgmental, sort of like helped me find my place in society.
Well, I don't know. So I wanted obviously I want to keep the conversation about your sexuality to much later, but I see that it really is a part of you, because every other sentence there's something that's related to that you talk about. So I may as well just start talking about it, and then whatever we add the rest of the conversation within it. But before I even get to that, I want to know, where did you grow up? Because I'm very curious about your childhood, and obviously it ties in with your sexuality at the end of the day. But I'm very curious. I just want to know a bit more. Where did you grow up, and what were your main influences? Not just generally.
Yeah, so I was born in Jackery. A lot of you, a few of you watching this know that, but I can't see people watching. I can't see the more people watching than whoever's watching. So I was born in Jackery. I left Jackery to Kumbu a few years, about maybe 3-5 years, because I went to class 2 in Kumbu.
Okay.
Understand. So I was quite very influenced by generally traditional sort family, isn't it?
Yeah.
But then again, I've always been very inquisitive. I've always wanted to know more than what is around my environment. Life wasn't average for me in a way, because growing up, I found out that I wasn't necessarily fitting in the way that other people were fitting in. For example, my friends would come around and say that, oh my goodness, that boy is so hot. I'm like, what boy? You understand? And in a way, to me, it was difficult. It was in a way, Goretti, sort of like convince yourself that is what it should be, and that's what you should be as well. So you conform to that, and then you meet somebody, which I did in Cameroon, and they change your whole life, and they're there, and you love them, and they love you back, and things are not as they should be socially.
So when you meet somebody, who did you meet? A female, male?
I met a female.
Okay.
I met a female, and
how old were you, if I may ask?
I was about 14, 15. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you meet her in Jackery or in Kumbo?
No. I spent only
2 years. You said 2 years.
No, I moved to class 2. I don't know what class 2 is. Believe me, I'm not very good with dates. I moved when I went to Kumbo, I was in class 2. So I spent class 1 in Jackery and in class 2 in Kumbo. So I don't really know what age I was. 15, 14. I was definitely in St. Augustine's, but I didn't meet her in St. Augustine's. I met her away from school. You know, I went to a boarding school, isn't it? And there's that stereotype that because you're in a boarding school and you spend so much time with girls, that's what you're into girls. That's not what happened to me, and definitely that's not the truth about this. It's just a myth. The stereotype is just a myth. Yeah.
Okay, so let's take this. So you're 14 to 15, and this is the first time that you accept to yourself that you have the feelings.
Not accept, Garati. You don't accept yourself. You don't.
You said something earlier, and if I'm using the wrong words, I apologize. But you said something earlier that you try to conform. You know, so by trying to conform.
No, you have these feelings. I don't know if I spoke wrongly, but you have these feelings that don't necessarily reflect the society around you.
Yes.
You understand? And you're struggling internally, you're struggling with your these feelings towards this person, that this person is female, but the society around you is telling you they're supposed to be attracted to male, and then it becomes a problem for you as well. You understand? So at 15, I didn't accept who I was. I asked her out, and I didn't ask her out like, oh, can you go out with me? It was understanding her response. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like, you do nice things for her, and then she notice you, and then you know. So it wasn't. You don't accept stuff like that. I was raised Catholic. Yeah. Even though I've always had a problem with the Bible, when I started menstruating as well, I had a problem about, with the Old Testament that said that a woman who is menstruating is dirty, is unclean, and should stay away from whatever to be in a, hot, whatever it is, So I've always had a problem with that. But then again, faced with the challenge of sexuality, it was a bit difficult, a bit tricky. You know what? Yeah, this is a very difficult conversation for me to have. It's not something that I've had publicly. I mean, if a lot of people who sort of like think they're closer to me are hearing this for the first time. Honestly, no, definitely.
But on the plus side, though, Kiki, you've been such an enigma for so long, and I think we want to take away that thing up. You're judged by your sexuality instead of the woman that you are, which often bothers me. And I think this is why I want to dig deep, because I want an understanding. You understand, so that people know that this is normal occurrence, or this happened naturally. So if I'm going too personal, just let me know.
No, it's okay. I mean, when I did agree to this interview, I said that we have to be respectful. That's one of the things that I said. And I said that you can ask me anything as long as it's respectful, as long as you're trying to have an understanding, as long as you're not trying to bash me down or use me for views, So so I'm okay. I'm okay as long as you're trying to just ask me and have an understanding, as well as it helps accelerate LGBTQ rights across Africa as well. So I love it.
Someone just says, Tessie says, I just love her, straight talk girl. So
thank you.
Yeah, so
I'm single. I'm single. I know. I'm just letting that out. I'm single.
Okay, I'm sure that, and there's Gilbert here who is he's left a couple of comments saying, Goretti, please tell Kiki Bandy that I love her.
Gilbert loves everybody. I know about his history, so don't even try me on this live platform. I'm going to expose you.
Nice. Yeah. Anyway, so this is you at okay. Did your mom? Were you close to your mom growing up?
Very close.
Did she say anything?
No, my mom. Yes, when I came to the UK, I had a conversation with my mom, and she was. I had a tattoo on my back. It's her name, her middle name, and then she said, "Oh, you're not going to find a husband after the tattoo." And then I said, "But I don't want to find a husband." And she said, "Then I should just have kids then." And I'm not going to talk about my mom's background and how her understanding of how I feel, because my mom is of late, actually. So so she mentioned stuff, and then she said, and I mentioned stuff, like I just said, I don't want to find a husband. And then she said, then you can have kids then, maybe have 2 or 3 kids. And I said, yes, I can. And that was it.
Our mothers, sometimes they don't talk too much, but you know exactly what they mean.
Oh yeah, they do. But I don't exactly know with her negotiating who I was. I don't know if it was based on my sexuality or based on the fact that I've always been stubborn. I've always questioned everything, things around misogyny, things around the Bible, things around. I'm not gonna have the full conversation with her, anyways, but just generally, just everything. You understand? So I don't know if it was based on that or just knowing me as a person and how I sort of like taking everything.
Is your dad still alive? Your dad?
Yeah, my dad. Yes.
Are you guys close?
It's difficult to be close to your dad as an African. It's difficult. So that's a very tricky question. But yeah, I think I've had more conversations with my dad after my mom passed than before my mom passed. So it's been like he has to take responsibility for my mom's job, or it's been like that. Yeah.
But what does he what are his views on your sexuality?
We don't have this conversation. No, within my family, when I came out, it was a conversation, me, I am in a way, when I don't want to have, when I don't want to listen to something, when I don't want to have that intrude my thoughts, I don't reply. Say whatever I want to say, but I'm not going to say anything about it. But I have to tell you something. My family has been more accommodating than I would have imagined being in the closet, or that I imagined being in the closet. And there is this attitude of don't ask, don't tell. Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense, because within our African families, they review that on so many issues, and this is why we have the woman experience, so we can talk about those issues that way. Don't ask, don't tell. So I completely get that. But before Elise asking a question there, which I'm going to ask later. But Kiki, so you're still in Cameroon. This is before you're fallen bush, right?
Yeah.
You're fallen bush. You're still in Cameroon. How hard was it, or was it not hard? But weren't you? I mean, given how there are 2 main things. Will I call it things? There are 2 main rules that govern our sexuality in Cameroon, our cultures, our culture, and the Bible. They're very important in they really in a way govern our sexuality. You understand? Because if you do anything that's against the culture or the Bible, you're done for. So as a young girl growing up in Cameroon, a teenager, what did it look like for you? I'm trying to think mentally for you. How were you able to navigate that mentally? Were you living in fear? Were you didn't care? What was it like for you?
I would just like to say that, first of all, I'm going to answer the cultural and religious thing about homosexuality much later. But as a young African girl growing up in Cameroon, it was difficult, very much mentally, and a lot of anxiety as well. You tend to imagine somebody finding out about your sexuality. You know, you tend to imagine maybe the girl you're going out with getting angry at what you said, or getting angry at the breakup and telling every other person what, the relationship is all about. And because in Cameroon as well, we do experience corrective rape, we do experience vigilante executions, we do experience blackmail, a lot of blackmail going on, people finding out about your sexuality and just simply telling others about it. So I had all those fears. There's a lot of anxiety that consumes you. It's like it shadows you everywhere you go, whether you're in the bedroom with your girlfriend, whether you're having a conversation with your girlfriend, whether she's on the phone with you, even though you guys are pretending to be friends, there's always that anxiety shadowing you. In terms of religion and culture, yes, I didn't fully understand that until I came to the UK. And I'm not saying this to say that the UK intoxicated me into believing that things, or the things that I knew before I came to the UK, were irrelevant. And no. I just had a bit of learning and unlearning to do, because I was in a comfortable place, a place that accepted me in my fullness. So yeah. So first of all, I'd just like to say that when people say that this is not part of our culture, they're often using that as a weapon of oppression. You realize that? They would tell a woman that you're not supposed to do this, is not part of our culture. They tell a homosexual that you're not supposed to do this, is not part of our culture. Then you have the religion aspect saying that homosexuality, no, you still have the cultural part saying that homosexuality is un-African. But if you're watching this and you have that belief system, I want to challenge your thoughts. I'm not saying this to say that you have to say everything I say as gospel, but challenge yourself to learn and unlearn. Now, the oldest, most ancient and remarkable rock paintings were found in Zimbabwe, in the caves in Zimbabwe. The oldest and most remarkable ancient rock paintings were found in Zimbabwe. Okay. Zim, isn't it?
Yeah, Zimbabwe. Yeah.
And some of these rocks sort of like had paintings of men having sex with men and all that. And it definitely defined, or definitely exposed, the fact that homosexuality has been part of the African culture even before colonization. You understand? So if you argue that homosexuality is un-African, then you don't know your African history, because we've always been there. They're probably after colonization, they've not been as vocal as I am, but we've always been part of the fabric of the African culture. And then to people who think, just hanging on to the religious views and all that, I just want to say that as an African lesbian, I am more African than you, who learned to hate based on a foreign book, which is the Bible. Yes.
Right. Yeah, you're going to be ruffling some feathers.
I don't care. I'm here to speak my truth.
No, not even that. It's just by calling the Bible. It's the Bible. People are very.
But it is not part of our cultural fabric. It's really Western imported. People think homosexuality is Western imported, but that's not true. Homosexuality has always been part of the African history. And I'm not asking you to take my word for it, because I could be saying some crazy shit just to defend my views and my ideologies. What I'm trying to tell you here is to challenge yourself to learn about the pre-colonial African history. You're going to find out about the gay Bambi case in Cameroon. You're going to find out about the people in Zimbabwe or rock painting. You're going to find a lot of stuff. Congolese queer people, queer as in homosexual. You understand? So challenge yourself to learn and unlearn, because I am tired of people using an African culture as part of oppression, as part of misogyny, as part of homophobia. It's just tiring, to be honest with you. It's laughable but sad at the same time, if that makes sense.
Okay, Tessie says that I would argue that what most people probably mean is that homosexuality or lesbianism, etc., is not the norm in the African culture.
Tessie, what are you talking about? I just simply answered that by giving you the synopsis of the African history. You understand? We didn't call it lesbians. We didn't call it gay people, because these are all Western words. But we had words for it before the colonization and all that. So homophobia is a hangover of colonization and not homosexuality. We have always been sexually diverse as Africans. You understand? So I don't know what Tessa is talking about. I just simply answered that already. And it's something that I'm saying that don't take my word for it. Don't take
your research.
Yeah, do your research, and then when you finally, if you're Pan-African or you're so much into African cultural beliefs, do your research and challenge me when you have a lot of research to back your claims.
Yeah, and you can challenge her. I'm just gonna put her social media handle. Kiki, is it Kiki Bandy or Bandy Kiki?
Bandy Kiki. Bandy Kiki is the right brand name.
Perfect.
Kiki Bandy is just something that Facebook did to interchange.
Like. So if you on social media, she is. If you look at the banner that's scrolling underneath her names, those are her handles. So Kiki, this is you. I mean, you've taken us out of Cameroon, but I'm taking you back to Cameroon because I need to understand this again. So this is you in Cameroon, preparing to fall bush, or I mean, I'm sure you came here in your late teens, right?
19. Yeah.
19, because university 19. Before leaving Cameroon, by the time, so from 14 or 15, when you had your first girlfriend, to like 19.
Not girlfriend, my understanding and response.
Yeah, understanding and response. How did you find that there were a lot more young girls like you, or was this or was this still just you and maybe a handful?
No, I found out there's an underground. I'm not saying this to erupt homophobia as well, but there's like an underground LGBTQ movement in Cameroon. It's across Africa. It's in any place where there is a homophobia and where there are anti-LGBTQ laws as well. And I did find a couple of people. Some people a lot mature than I was at that particular age. You understand? Some of them are celebrities. Some of them are into politics.
In Cameroon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Some of them are into politics. Some of them are into other stuffs. But yeah, I did find out that there were quite a lot of people who were like me. But then again, which is what influenced my visibility while in the UK, is the fact that I needed somebody to be visible as I am now while in the UK. And because of that, I felt confused. I sort of like was had this thoughts like, you shouldn't be this, people are not like you around here, blah blah blah. And that's what I thought the whole world was like that before I came to the UK.
I was homophobic, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. When I came to the UK, I actually just found out that there's a gay village in Manchester, so I can actually go there and hang out with other girls who are into other girls as well. I tell you what, when I went to Manchester for the very first time, Manchester gay village for the very first time, I felt like I was in a sex movie, but all these girls were there. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. But it was strange. It was strange knowing that every now and then I'll go out and check, is police not going to come?
I know, because in Cameroon is one of the other among many other African countries that criminalizes sexual relationships with a person of the same sex, with a penalty of between 6 months to 5 years imprisonment, as well as as well as a fine. You understand? I think that article is what, Article 347?
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, well, I think push look at Article 347-1. It criminalizes sexual relationships between people of the same sex,
Mm-hmm.
and you go to prison for up to 5 years, and you pay a fine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, hearing that, Kiki, did you know that, by the way, when you were still in Cameroon?
No, I had no idea about I just knew that people would not like me. I just knew that because I had a friend who unfortunately got exposed and had a family meeting and prayers and stuff like that. So I just knew that it wasn't accepted. It wasn't something that I saw around me, like experience around me. So in a way, I felt like this would be odd, Kiki. So, but yeah, I never knew about the law. I never knew about some of the consequences of being homosexual or LGBT in Cameroon.
Well, because you were a teenager, and I think most of us at that age don't know the law. We just know that the police will arrest you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I mean, and I keep asking these questions of your time in Cameroon, and maybe because you're much younger than me, and I imagine there are probably quite a lot of young women living in the closet now. I don't. What do you say to people who say that homosexuality is not biological?
Do you know what? Yeah, let me start with what you said about young people in Cameroon living in the closet as well, because I have to say that I a couple of days ago, a week, I can't remember. I had some blogger post something saying that I attacked her spiritually after she watched my video, and she got a visit from me. I don't know, I can't remember the whole shebang, to be honest with you. And it was a whole commotion on Facebook, and I replied to that.
Is that a Cameroonian blogger?
Yes, she said I attacked her after she watched my first YouTube video, and I replied to her. And a young Cameroonian girl from SOT, she inboxed me and she said, "Don't break, Kiki, because if you do, a lot of people will break because of you." And it sat down with me, because I know that my activism is not personal in a way.
Yeah,
it's for the community. It's for people who want to see somebody like me win. It's for people who want to know that it's okay to be LGBT. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be bisexual. It's just okay to live your truth. You understand? And I'm not just saying this as an LGBTQ person. I'm saying this to that woman who's been abused by the husband at the moment. I'm saying this to that person who is studying a course because they feel like society is more acceptable to that particular course. I'm just saying that it's okay to just push everyone out of your equation and focus on you. Make decisions that are favorable for you and not what is favorable for people around you. You understand? And with the second part of the question, you asked me like homosexuality is unnatural.
Yeah, those who say
why then do we exist? Why then do we exist? Simply, our existence is part of nature. You understand? If we exist, then it's simply part of nature. So it means it's natural, isn't it? You understand? It's there's a lot of I've heard a lot of narratives like people like me are taught to live this way. People like me are taught to are paid. Somebody said I'm actually being paid to say I'm a lesbian. It was the funniest stuff ever, believe you me. I've heard stuff like that. But that's people would make excuses for why you're who you are.
Yeah.
Rather than just accept you. You understand? I have read studies because I'm a microbiologist and I do like my animals and human behaviors and stuff like that. Animals are gay. Animals have same-sex sexual relationships. So how then do you explain that? If it's not natural, who then teaches animals to be same-sex? You understand? So it's a bit, people, like I said again, people are going to make excuses for why you are the way you are. You know, people would say I was abused by a relative, I was this, I have daddy issues, but that's not the case. I'm just Kiki.
Yeah, because because you would think that maybe you were influenced by environment. For those it's not
Goretti, I grew up in So. I was born
exactly.
exactly. Where did I find out about homosexuality? In So. Where? Exactly.
I don't,
It doesn't make sense. The argument doesn't make sense.
So
and I've spoken to so many hundreds of other people who grew up in a very exclusive or a very confined environment like me, grew up in the church, in a village or whatsoever, and they still have the same feelings, because that's people have different diversities. People have different sexual diversities. People experience different things, different thoughts, different feelings. For you to assume that everyone should think as a heterosexual is arrogant and unacceptable. Unfortunately, yeah. Sorry, sometimes I stutter when I'm very passionate.
Oh, no. You're very eloquent. Don't worry, you're not even stuttering at all. But okay, so Elizabeth, which brings me to Elizabeth says, Kiki, what makes you such a strong person?
Okay, and somebody asked me that. I love this question, by the way. I love it so much because a lot of young girls ask me that, even guys, and even older people ask me that. I think what makes me such a strong person is just simply wanting to put Kiki first. I am, as cliche as might sound, I'm a CEO of my life, and Kiki should come first. My desires, my needs, my sexual needs should come first. People shouldn't come to my life and tell me what to do, who to bed, or who to have sexual relationships with. That is unacceptable. And if you have those thoughts and you're thinking of influencing somebody's sexual life, then there's a problem with you and not that person. So it's all about protecting your mental space, isn't it? Knowing that you confess, knowing that your self-care, your mental space, your thoughts are a priority to you. You understand? Have conversations with yourself. I have a lot of conversations with myself. When I came out, and I don't know if it was close relative or a friend, I know who exactly it is. I don't want to pinpoint that person because it'll feel a bit funny watching this video, but they told me that, and they were like, that this is going to affect people around. They were like, excuse me, people around me are secondary. It's Kiki comes first. Kiki has to be Kiki first. Kiki should experience happiness first. Happiness should come first to Kiki before any other person around her. So yeah.
Zele has a question. She says, if this is a feeling, does it mean that some days you don't have these feelings and you feel straight? I am confused.
I never ever said that this was a feeling. I said this was part of my identity, part of who I am. You understand? I don't feel straight some days. I love boobs. I see them every day and I want to have them. I know. I love them. That's part of me. I don't change every single day. But there's an argument that sexuality is fluid and people can tend to desire things at different periods. You understand?
But you have people who are bi.
Yeah, exactly. But personally, I love women. I adore women. I love the softness of a woman. I love the embrace of a woman. I just love women, and that's just me. But yeah.
So this questions this is from Marcelo, but I'm gonna read it from within the comments. And she says, if Kiki and a lot of other lesbians believe in what they stand for, why do they hide their partners? I think the reason why the rest of our societies have a hard time processing this is because they themselves have not fully accepted who they are. And if homosexuality has long existed in our communities, why are they still being caught or exposed? What, in Kiki's opinion, could be the reason for society's resistance to accept homosexuality?
I love that. I love that so much. What was her name?
Marcelo. Salome.
Salome, when you come out and say, or when society assumes you're heterosexual, I don't ask you to prove your heterosexuality, do I? You understand? I don't ask to see your partner to acknowledge the fact that you are actually heterosexual. So why then do I have to show off a partner to prove the fact that I'm a lesbian? You understand? And if you're talking about African history, people have existed before colonization, and people have been free and showing off their partners. It's been part of the African fabric. But after colonization, people felt the need to hide because of the killings, the Muslims, the Christianity stuff going on. What's the other part of the question?
Because religion frowned upon it.
Yeah, exactly. So people went into hiding. So it's like blaming a woman for not reclaiming her power, even though society suppresses our power. You understand? So you have to know that there are certain environmental circumstances making me hide my partner. First of all, if I'm going out with a girl, it might not be for privacy. If I'm going out with a girl who is in the closet, I'm not going to be comfortable showing her because she's not come out yet. You understand? Yeah. She might be trying to negotiate her sexuality and her family issues and blah, blah, blah. I can't do that. I mean, my last girlfriend or fiance wasn't out. She wasn't out publicly. So I couldn't flaunt her publicly. But that's not the only issue. The key issue here is I don't like to flaunt people publicly until I'm married to them. When I do marry somebody, you guys will see it too. I'll be everywhere on Facebook with kids and pregnancy and stuff like that. But don't ask me to show off my partner to prove my sexuality. That's arrogant, and it's rude, and it's discrimination.
And that's the big one, and it's discrimination.
It is because when you say that you're heterosexual, even though I've never seen your partner, I don't ask you to show me a boyfriend or girlfriend that you're going out with to prove your sexuality. I don't do that because I just believe your word for it, isn't it? But we tend to have this conversation. No. So where's your girlfriend, Kiki? Because if your girlfriend is not here, you're not. I'm like, excuse me, fuck off.
Okay. So Kiki, what made you Millbrick is no, that's not the question. Lulu is asking, Kiki, what made you decide to come out and speak out without fear?
I love this question because it's going to bring on a lot of emotions within me. When I came out as a lesbian, I wasn't ready to come out as a lesbian. I did mention this in my interview with Pink News, which is LGBTQ. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did.
Oh yeah, you did. But if you don't know about Pink News is like a big LGBTQ UK platform as well. And I had a video interview with them. So when I came out, I wasn't ready to come out. I came out because I felt like I needed to. When I started Kinaka's blog, and obviously making rounds with the gossip and with the stuff, a lot of people started looking into me. And they found out about my sexuality because I was vocal anyways, and I had a lot of success at the beginning. So you don't have that a lot of success without pissing a lot of people off or pissing a few people off. So that happened. And then again came the Anglophone or the struggle. And then I had views and people were pissed off about the views. And rather than attacking my political views, people attacked my sexuality. People already know about my sexuality, attacking my sexuality. Then I also had an incident, Goretti. If I would mention names, I feel like I'm going to be putting them on the spot. I don't know if they've changed over the years, but this guy came to me because I posted something about him, and he's found out about my girl that I used to like. He used it as a way of blackmailing me and controlling content on the Kinaka's blog.
Right.
Yeah. So down the line, I felt like I was losing power. It's a power play, isn't it? I felt like I had to come out to reclaim my power from these people who felt like they can use my sexuality to blackmail me or control the content on my blog. So so that's why I came out. And from then on, I have been visible. I've remained visible because I feel like being visible challenges the narrative that homosexuality is un-African, because I'm African and I'm visible. I'm a visible woman who identifies as lesbian. So if I'm African, so why then are you saying that homosexuality is un-African? Because this African woman identifies as a homosexual. Yeah, so it's just been that. And what was the question again? Sorry, I have a knack for just
come out. Why no? we were on the coming out, but still on the coming out. So many people are asking, and I'm going to ask you, why is there a need to make such a big deal about coming out as a homosexual? Why is there such a need for that?
Okay, I'm going to explain this because I do understand the arrogance when it comes to heterosexuals asking why is there a need to come out, and it's not me, of course, because a lot of people are just trying to learn. Yeah, you know, but society just assumes that everybody's heterosexual.
Right, I see.
You understand? If you want to have your existence assumed, then don't come out. But if you want to sort of like define the narrative around you or your existence, then you have to come out. I went to an African party. I think it was during Christmas or something like that, and we're having a lot of fun. And this woman, she sat there with her kid. She's Kenyan, by the way. And then she asked me like, "Oh, are you married?" Blah blah blah. She was actually, I can't remember exactly what went down, but she assumed that I had a boyfriend or husband, and I said, "No, I have a girlfriend." And when I came back to my seat, she moved away from me. You know, so it's the assumption that we are all heterosexuals. Yes, it's the assumption we're all heterosexuals that I have to come out. Also, coming out as well helps accelerate LGBTQ rights. If people see me as Kiki, and rather than have the taboo conversation about homosexuality, then it's much easier for them. You understand? I've had a lot of confessions from KB readers who said something like that. I was introduced to homosexuality from church. I've always thought about it as evil. I've always felt weird about those people. But seeing you live your life unapologetically happy and free as a queer or lesbian Cameroonian woman, it's changed my narrative. You understand? So there's that need to come out to accelerate acceptance, to change the laws. You understand? You don't, as heterosexuals, you have the luxury of the law being on your side. You don't have people trying to erase. Yeah, you don't have people trying to erase your very existence from the African history.
Yeah.
I am Kiki. I am a lesbian. I am Cameroonian. I am going to be visible. Whether that makes you comfortable or not is up to you. Yeah.
And I think I'm hearing, because people are still asking the question. I think I hear you. So I've heard you so far. It's natural. This is not just the same way that I have feelings for men is the same way you have feelings for women. It's not
exactly.
There's nothing to it. It's just that's your preference. And I hear you that the reason you need to come out, because obviously it's still being penalized across, especially across Africa and in Cameroon. Typically in Cameroon, we're talking about Cameroon now. In Cameroon, it's criminalized. So even if as a young girl you didn't know that it was criminal to have sexual relationships with somebody of the same sex, but there were other things that made it frowned upon. You know, there was religion. The Bible categorically has so much to say on that, and then a lot of our cultures nowadays frown upon
Please,
that.
let's not refer to the African culture again. African culture based on culture.
It shapes a lot of who we are as human beings. So
it doesn't, because the pre-colonial African culture doesn't shun.
Many of us, our history or the part of our culture that we know, we can't date it back to pre-colonial times.
You can't blame people for your ignorance.
Kiki, we know what our parents and our grandparents, or in some lucky cases, great-grandparents have taught us and have raised us. And with our generation, our great-grandparents grew up in Christian times, in colonial times. Do you understand? So I know that you're urging us to go back and read our history and go way back to pre-colonial times. It's very important as well, but it's also important for you to be understanding.
I am very understanding and I'm very patient. I have had a lot of instances I'm like, what the, anyways. But actually, I'm going to say this now, and I'm going to say very loud and clear. Using your ignorance as a way to hate on LGBTQ people is a disservice to our ancestors as Africans. You understand? Don't tell me you were born in a certain era and you should have certain belief systems. I've seen people who shown white influence on Africa, but still are homophobic. You understand? Because they've refused to accept that homosexuality was part of the African fabric or African history fabric before colonization. You understand?
You see, yeah, go on.
But I do understand as well that some people are just they're not just exposed to the real African history.
Exactly. So
the African history, yes. I'm not trying to ask you to.
No, but you see, yeah, I know. I just want to go back to you saying that using your ignorance is a disservice. When you put it in that context, it's insulting because you expect. No, wait. Let's have the conversation, Kiki, because you expect that we should just. Okay, if I asked you,
when I said using your ignorance, I said that I've seen people who are Pan-Africanist, who want to shun the Western influence on Africa, but still are homophobic. I did say that. If we can replay this, I don't know if we replay this, but I did say that. You understand? Because they're then trying to intentionally, you know, ignore that part of the African history. Because if you call yourself a Pan-Africanist, if you want to maintain or protect Africans' history, then you should know better. You understand?
So you're putting the onus on the Pan-Africanists to really go back and know their history. I mean, like 1800th century history.
Yeah, it's not 1800 history, because I think the dynasty was founded. It's much more earlier than it's much more recent than that. It's not that old.
No. Actually, I read somewhere that this Banso history, or you guys call it so, is one of the oldest traditions in Africa or cultures. How many years? About, I need to check that again. And if I find I don't want to say what's not right, but I know that it's one of the oldest.
I don't know, Goretti. You are the. I do know because I read this. It's not as old as you would think. It's not as old as you would think. Yeah, but yeah. Okay.
I'm lost, but that's okay. Sorry, I'm trying to read people's comments as well so that I can ask a few questions. If we're the norm. There's so many questions which I implore you to go back after that and just read, because I think the questions.
Please ask them all. I have the evening for you. Ask them all.
People really want to learn, which is good, because that's what it seems like in the comments.
Oh, my bottoms don't show, you know.
Okay, so this person is asking, Jew is asking that why do lesbians and gays find it necessary to have a feminine and masculine figure in their relationships when the whole point of being homosexual is about not having any interest in the opposite sex? Why should your lesbian partner, for example, have to start acting the man? I think those are starts, and you acting the woman and dressing the part. This usually comes across to me as being confused.
Oh, let me answer that. And I like that question. I've had a lot of that thrown at me, like, are you the man or the woman in your relationship? I'm like, excuse me, there's no man or woman in a lesbian relationship. I'm just going to say that most of the times when you've had a lot of influence around you, culturally or socially, you tend to reflect, even though you don't fit in. Do you understand? You tend to pick up some of those things, and I'm just here to say that as well. You don't just have masculine representing women, which it starts in relationships with feminine representing women. You do have masculine representing women in relationships with masculine representing women, or you do have very feminine representing women in relationship with feminine representing women, or you do have people who are in the middle, like me, who are in relationships with people of their kind. You understand? But it doesn't erase the fact that they want to be with other women. It's just who they are. If I am masculine representing woman, there's certain character traits that I still have. You know, as a masculine representing woman, which are feminine, which would resonate with another lesbian or another woman who's interested in women. You understand? But please do not assume that just because we have a masculine representing woman and a feminine representing woman in a relationship means that we're trying to it's confused. It's not confusing. Some people just prefer that in relationships. You understand? I have seen heterosexuals where a woman wears the pants and the man is the more feminine in quotes. Does it mean that they're gay, or does it mean that they then are not heterosexuals? You understand? I feel like generally we have these very tiny judgmental lens that we view heterosexuals, everything becomes judgment. You know, if we fart a certain way, it becomes judgment. If we laugh a certain way, it becomes judgment. If we cry a certain way, it becomes judgment. But stop micromanaging our relationships. Let me worry about, do I want to go into a relationship with a masculine represented woman, or do I want to go into a relationship with a feminine represented woman or not? Stop. That's not your business. Your business to me is respect. As a human being, I deserve to be visible without fear of judgment, without fear of discrimination, without fear of vigilante execution, without fear of corrective rape, which has happened a lot across Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Stop micromanaging me. I don't ask you what goes on in your bedroom. You understand? There's some straight men who prefer pegging, for example. I don't know if you guys know pegging. Pegging is when a guy experiences anal stuff by stuff. I'm not very sure if Facebook is very accommodating when it comes to conversations like this, but you can Google pegging. Okay. It's PEGGIN. Yes, so you can Google that and find out for yourselves. And I don't come to you and say, oh, you're gay because you like pegging. I don't do that because I don't care about your relationship in your bedroom. I don't care.
You have to understand that people are curious, and I think this is the first time that I think a lot of Cameroonians are partaking in the conversation around homosexuality, and you're being very honest and forthright, which I applaud you for that. And I think that you should not see, not every question that is asked is coming from a place of judgment. It's also coming from a place of curiosity, because I'm curious as well. Because like I see the studs, you understand, and who are very masculine. I wonder, is it that's how they also felt as children, or they decided that like
no.
What is
Goretti, I've met straight women. I've been in the room with a straight woman and she has like masculine energy. And I actually think she's a lesbian, like, because of the stereotype, isn't it? When people know better.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I'm like, this one is a lesbian. No, in my mind, because of the stereotype as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but I find out I know she likes men. But she has masculine energy. She's authoritative. She likes to dress a certain way. She's comfortable in male clothes, male clothing, and stuff like that. So I don't class sexuality based on how people represent as in form of or masculine and all that. And I'm not trying to be judgy or trying to be insultive or trying to be condescending. I'm just answering them. I'm doing a good job of answering them anyways. Yeah. But you have to bear with me that some of these things ring homophobia to me.
Well, because that's what you face for most of your life, especially.
Exactly. So it comes across as it rubs me off wrongly. I'm a bit sensitive to stuff like that. But yes, I've met women. I've met women in power positions. Like they sit down. I'm like, okay, this one I'm going to fuck. But then again, they're like, hey, that's my husband. I'm like, okay, it happens. Yeah. And that's it. And I can't base energy based or a representation based on sexuality. It doesn't work like that. At some point, a lot of people thought that Sierra, the African American musician,
who is married, who's just had a baby.
Yes, some people thought that she was queer because of the dancing and the abs and the stuff, and maybe she wasn't. Or maybe I don't know, we can't conclude now. You understand? But yeah, so people, energy is different. I've met women who, the thing is, people assume that women have to beautify themselves. Women have to look a certain way. People assume that femininity has to look a certain way. Long nails, red lipstick, long hair. It doesn't work like that in the real world. There are women who like to have their hair short and they're not necessarily lesbians. There are women who like to dress in t-shirts and jeans and they're not necessarily lesbians. So it works. So what I would say to whoever assumes that this is what masculinity or femininity should look like, you need to do a lot of learning and unlearning to do. You need to do a lot of learning and unlearning because it doesn't reflect on what people are at the moment.
If I bring it back to her question, I think her question was like within a lesbian relationship or even within a gay relationship, does one person naturally assume the role of the female, and does one person naturally assume the role of the male?
Like with you guys and the pegging and the stuff that you guys have in your bedroom, which I'm not interested in.
Yeah.
People assume based on their personal preferences.
Okay.
You understand? Some people like to be kissed. Some women like to be kissed on their forehead. Some people like to be kissed on their lips. That's their business. You understand? But there's not a standard of what it should be like a gay couple. I don't have to go out with a woman who is very feminine. I don't have to go out with a woman who is very masculine. I just go out with whoever I feel like is personally.
Oh, you like?
Which I'm single again. I just want to refer to everybody watching.
Kiki is single.
I'm single. Personally, if you're a woman, I like you. You know, you just need to identify as a woman, you know, with all the stuff that I like. Like you have to have, you know, breasts and
all the stuff that Kiki
I like, you understand? I don't care if you're masculine energy, feminine energy and stuff like that. If I trust you, you're loyal, you're ambitious, generally just potential. I like that. So it doesn't I don't assume that you have to be a certain way. I don't expect you to be a certain way. I don't ask you to be a certain way. Yeah.
So Kiki, now that you're out and you're very vocal and you are a big time activist for the LGBTQ community, how do you find you're in the UK? So I mean, maybe you can talk on that, and then you probably have KB readers, but would you openly say there is, how am I going to put this? How's the community of how's the LGBTQ community among Cameroonians? Would you say that there are quite a lot of them in the closet, or they're just a few, or is a handful, or how is it? Is it very different from what you knew when you were 14 in your teens, or how is it now out here?
Yeah, you asked me to expose a lot of my friends.
No, don't.
I know. I'm not going to. I'm not going to mention names, so it's a bit different. It's a bit different, but. Like I said to you, when I came out because I wanted to be visible. I wanted to be that person that I needed while I was in the closet, which means at the age of 13, 14, 15, I wasn't seeing anybody visible, or I didn't know people that were like me. That makes sense. You know, so while in the UK, not just while in the UK, while exploring the African or the Cameroonian queer community, I've come to find out as a visible lesbian that we're quite a number of us.
Right.
We're less visible, you understand? And which I definitely think that being less visible and not challenging these thoughts that a lot of people have breeds homophobia and definitely violence. You understand? And that's a conversation for another day. But yeah.
Because even personally, I received when I put up the flyer, people had the nerve to send me messages saying that we're waiting for her in Cameroon. I'm thinking, what is wrong? Like,
that's the thing.
How does her being a lesbian affect you personally that you want to hurt this person?
And that's the thing. That's the thing that I want to really point out today, which I wrote down somewhere, my notes. I want to just say that homophobia doesn't necessarily just affect queer or homosexual Africans. It affects everybody. You have to if you're not a violent person or you're not a rude person, you sort of like have the need or the mental need to be rude to me, because you feel like if you're sympathetic towards me, people then assume that you are LGBT. You understand? You can't interview me as we're having it now without having the hate being put on you. You can't be friends with somebody who is queer or homosexual without people assuming that you might swing that way as well. So it doesn't necessarily affect us. I've also seen I'm saying this. I'm going to say this. I know people in the UK, people in the US, people in Cameroon who are married to lesbians, who are married to gay men, and the marriage is not going well because I know who they're fucking in.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that on Facebook.
Yeah, I know who they're sleeping with. I know who they're sleeping with when they want to actually have sexual encounters. You understand? I know who they are but they're just married to that person because society doesn't allow them. So it doesn't just affect me as a queer person; it affects you as well. Because that person who is straight and in an unhappy marriage because of homophobia is feeling the pain.
Yes, and I think this is a question I was going to ask my audience, especially for people who are homophobic, or if you know who are homophobic. Do you realize that some of us are married to gays and lesbians?
Yes.
No, I mean, like, especially to the people who are homophobic. A lot of us, our partners are on the, like, on the guys are on the download, the girls are, you understand? The thing is, this is a reality. Is the conversation we're trying to have. We should, we're, as much as we say it's not part of our culture and all of those things.
Please, let's not say part of our culture again.
No, well, Kiki, I'm always going to say that because that's the argument. It's not part of our culture. It's not part of our culture, and it's not part of. It's the Bible frowns upon it. That's the argument. That's the two biggest arguments we have when
it's the argument, but it's not the reality.
Of course,
the reality is
a lot of the times, Kiki. The truth, who cares for the truth? As long as the truth is very subjective.
People cherry pick, isn't it? People cherry pick. They like sort of like use arguments.
They're Kiki. So, but I'm saying that if we don't have these conversations, a lot of us will be sitting at home, and our significant others are doing, others of the same.
I know of somebody who recently got married and the guy's gay, and I was just like, don't die. And the girl comes to insult me on Kinaka's blog, so I'm just like, I want to tell her, but the LGBTQ part of me doesn't. The LGBTQ active part of me doesn't want to tell her, if that makes sense, because I then put the guy in danger and all that. You understand? So I know it's difficult. We all suffer from it. We all suffer as queer people, as straight Africans. We all suffer from homophobia.
Okay, I'm gonna go now and ask quite a few questions because they are quite a lot, and because I've been talking, I've not been reading them. Where did I last see this? When you claim. Okay, so I'm sorry, guys. Just a minute. I'm trying to. I don't know if to read this or not to you. Let me read it. Yeah. This person says, as a proud daughter of Nsor, will you be able to stand out in Nsor land? That's Millbrick. Will you be able to stand out in Nsor land to defend this new sexuality of yours and convince your own parents about your sexuality?
I wouldn't have this conversation if I can't defend it, even in my cultural or Nsor setting. I'm quite a very careful person in terms of how I present and how I articulate and how I come across. So if I'm having this conversation now, I would have it even with your grandfathers, on your grandfathers' graves, and even in front of the fun. That makes sense.
Afo says, that's a good one. With regards to where we come from, it'll take more than courage to do that. There will definitely be repercussions. Elliot says, Kiki, Cameroonians aren't ready for the truth. Okay, Fidelia says, I try not to judge gays. I just try to look at the biological side of this matter. Fidelia, do you want to expand on that, the biological side of this matter, which we have talked about earlier anyway, because, but what do you mean?
I think the biological part of it, like, it's like arguing that, sickle cell is quite a very, massive, I don't want to call it incident because come across like people who have sickle cell, sickle cell is a big issue within the Cameroonian community. It's like saying that the people who are carriers are definitely not sickle cell. It's like arguing with the biology of it. You understand? When you don't actually know what they are feeling or how they experience life. You understand? Don't argue about biology. Don't argue about that unless you are one of them. And everything is not down to biology, anyways. But yeah.
Okay, this person has asked me this question like 3 different times. So, Kiki, let me ask you. Please ask this, Kiki. In which culture in Africa was lesbianism a norm? It was happening somehow, which was never accepted by any culture. So don't be confused with it being practiced as African culture back then. So if I understand him, he's saying the person is Bakala CFA. He's saying that even if it was practiced, it was still practiced behind closed doors. It's even though when you say it's in the paintings of Zimbabwe, it was still something that was hidden.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. I'm going to challenge you again. Please don't ask questions unless you've done your research and you have your background, and then we can have this conversation. Because it's a bit draining repeating myself, isn't it? Within the Zimbabwe or Bamili case in Cameroon, or within the Congolese because it's not just a single occurrence in Zimbabwe. I want to make that very clear. I mentioned Zimbabwe because those are the facts that I'm very much accustomed to, rather than the other facts. I read them when I was coming to this interview. I know. You have to back yourself up,
Yeah.
But anyways, I've always known that anyway, but I needed to pinpoint a country. Does that make sense? Yeah. So within that community, there's always been people like that. There have always been people who identify like that. Now, what I'm telling you here is the fact that they might not have identified as lesbians, because lesbian is a Western word rather than the practice. The practice is not Western. The practice is very much African. It's always been part of the African history. You understand? So people only went into hiding after colonization, after religion came and said, oh yeah, Leviticus, because I know Leviticus a lot because a lot of people have used it against me.
Right. So wait, what does it say, Leviticus?
I don't remember it. I don't want to know, Gorati. I don't care, but I know that that's one of the things that people have thrown at me. You understand? So before that came, people were just themselves across Africa. In fact, misogyny, which is what we experience as women across Africa, it wasn't that glaring. But then the Western world came and said, there's a boy, there's a girl, there's a man, there's a woman, and then we should assume certain gender rules with the fabric of society. Then we'd have that problem. You understand? So when you come to me, Kiki, telling me that we've not been visible, telling me that we've not been, it's an African, telling me that it's Western imported, I have to ask you again, do you know your African history? Okay.
Elliot says, just a comment, Cameroonians are extremists when it comes to ignorance. Homosexuality is part of accepting diversity. Rejecting people based on their choices, orientation, breeds hate and discrimination. Too many innocent Africans have been killed for being gay.
I have to tell you this here, and I love this guy. It's a guy, isn't it?
It's a guy, yeah.
I love his persons, and I love what he's bringing across, which is which is true. Let me challenge a thought that's it's something that we all relate to as queer, as as heterosexuals and all that. When people simply hate you for the color of your skin, that doesn't affect them. How do you feel? How do you feel? You cannot, in whatsoever level, challenge racism, Islamophobia without facing homosexuality. How does I have a sexual relationship with a girl in my bed. How does it affect you as a person? You understand? Because the bottom line is discrimination is discrimination. Whether you're being discriminated because of the color of your skin, your religion, your sexuality, is discrimination. So I have to challenge you. How then do you have arguments around racism and then be homophobic?
And be homophobic at the same time. I know
that makes sense. It doesn't make sense.
That's actually very good.
Yeah. So I have to hit home with you guys. I have to hit home. Like, think about this particular argument you're having with me online. I mean, it's okay to have with Kiki because this is like a learning platform, isn't it?
Yeah.
But think about that when next you confront racism, when next you confront Islamophobia, if you're Muslim, or when next you confront any other misogyny or sexism. Do you understand? I've had women who have come up to me and said, I do agree with women's rights, but I don't agree with lesbians' rights. And I'm like, are you okay? Is a lesbian or a woman? What are you talking about? And I've had people who have told me that I shouldn't speak on, sorry, I think I'm supposed to do this. I've had people who have told me that I shouldn't speak on issues around men and women because they don't affect me as a lesbian. I'm like, are you crazy? The fact that I am a lesbian, the fact that I have sexual encounters with women doesn't exclude me from misogyny. Whatever toxic masculinity you have within your home, it seeps within the fabric of society. You understand? People see me and they assume I should be submissive because I have a submissive wife at home. You understand? People see me and they assume I should be a certain way. People see me in power, in positions of power, and they assume I shouldn't tell them what to do. Which I've experienced that in my job as well as my philanthropist activities. You understand? People assume I should act a certain way. I should people because I speak a bit fast. I don't know if a lot of you can tell. People assume it's a form of rudeness because I'm trying to speak over them. But no, that's the way I speak. You understand? Why? Because they're used to a woman suppressed at home, like, oh yes, yeah, you know. So it affects me, which I have to speak against it. You understand?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Salah is asking something. I think, okay, because we talked earlier about biology, and I think this is what they meant. I'm not going to bring it because it's going to cover our faces, so I'm going to read it. Salome again is asking, without trying to be judgmental, isn't it confusing when lesbians decide to have children? Why didn't God make it possible for same sex to be able to fertilize each other? Going by that, I think that's why society considers the reverse to be the norm. The roles and biological complexities in homosexual relationships are difficult to grasp.
Is that woman?
It's a woman, yes.
Yeah. If you want to argue about biology and about assumptions, first of all, people being in relationship or in a relationship together is more than procreation. It's much more than procreation and much more than sex. You understand? There are other parts of or key parts of a lesbian relationship that are not down to sex and procreation and all that. We do have heterosexuals who are not able to have offsprings. The woman is barren. The man has low sperm counts. They go out there and they adopt and all that. You understand? We also have another argument that women are not supposed to enjoy sex and they're just meant to be the vessel of the next generation. You understand? So if you argue with me in that form, then you're then acknowledging the fact that that should be the norm. The fact that women are vessels of the next generation, the fact that all inclusive, barren and low sperm counts should be able to produce kids because they're all heterosexuals. You understand? We can't have that argument. People have kids in different ways. There's so many kids that need love in orphanages. Is that orphanages an English word? I think I'm getting a bit carried away.
No, you're not.
Yeah. So people, we all have those. We have circumstances like that, and we don't judge your sexuality based on this and sex, enjoyment, and childbearing. We don't do that.
Okay.
You understand? Life is much more than that. Life is much more than just sex and kids.
Okay, let's move away a bit from that because you spend the past hour and 15 minutes thereabouts literally teaching us and trying to defend a lot of the
not defend, speak the truth.
Speak your truth on
truth,
the misconceptions and misunderstandings that we have as Africans, right, or as Cameroonians in this instance. How you putting yourself there to be that vocal activist on LGBTQs, which, and knowing very well where you come from, how much it's frowned upon, receiving all these death threats and all of that. I wonder, are you as strong as you present, or does it really get to you at some point? Because we've been talking a lot about mental health on this thing, and we've seen how much it affects on the woman experience, and we've seen how much it really affects every aspect of our lives. And I wonder for you, you know, as a young immigrant, a Cameroonian girl in England, an immigrant, in addition to all the different challenges that you face, then you're facing this really massive one from your own community on your sexual orientation. How do you handle all of that mentally?
I have to be honest here, because I feel like if I'm not honest, it's going to read wrongly to people who look up to me. When I just came out as a lesbian, and when I started advocating for LGBTQ rights within the African community, or within the Cameroonian LGBT community, because I do have much reach more than just within the Cameroonian community, I struggled a lot mentally. You know, the hate, the comments, the judgment sort of like made me question my sense of self. The sense of self is like the basics of my existence, isn't it?
Yeah.
You understand? So I did that. And also, it affected my finances a great deal. You and I know that living in the West, money is everything. It's not like you can just pop up to your neighbor's house and be like, I beg for salt. It doesn't happen like that, does it? You understand? So with that financial obviously contributed to more mental issues. You understand? So I struggled a lot with that. But I am happier
Right.
and more at peace being visible. I
can imagine that though. Yeah, it's freeing.
While I was in the closet,
Mm.
I had Kinaka's blog going on and comments, and I was like, what if I get up the next day and somebody just left a comment saying I'm a lesbian? So there's always that anxiety shadow. And I did mention anxiety very much. If you remember our earlier conversation, shadowing me, even back home. It came to the UK with me. Even when I was uni, I would be a different person among my Caucasians friends, and then different person among my African friends, so yeah. But like I said again, the key things is just that freedom. I can come out here and say that I'm a lesbian. I am not asking for your permission to be a lesbian. I'm simply telling you to define the narrative around me. Okay?
Yeah. And so now, irrespective of the everyday bullying, online bullying that you face, it doesn't affect you anymore because you live the truth.
I've built layers. It's a learning process. I've built layers. I've known when to. Some of the times I want to confront the bully. I want to be the bully in that. I want to bully the bully. You understand? Just simply telling them that I can do this as well. We can both do this. And sometimes I'm just like, Kiki, you don't need to address this. You can switch off and recharge. Recharging for me is drinking white wine. Recharging for me is cooking African food. For example, I was cooking concha before this live conversation started. Recharging for me is simply just speaking to my siblings, my dad as well, just simply touching base with them. Like just redefining myself, knowing that I'm somebody's sister, I'm somebody's daughter, and my thoughts as well as my experiences are valid. You understand? But apart from that, I've got layers. It's difficult, It's like when you first get married, isn't it?
Yeah.
Assume you're married. Your first year was a bit different. You're like, so this guy snores. Yeah, I'm not assuming your Mr. snores, but I'm just saying that you have to learn new things. You have to unlearn. Maybe society has said that maybe he likes to have his meal at. I'm not assuming here you're the cook because that's not. Yeah, maybe he wants to cook for you, or you want to have your meals at 7 o'clock, and things change. And like you realize that maybe it has to be earlier because one of you have like stomach issues after you eat after 8 o'clock or whatever. So you have to learn and unlearn, isn't it? You have to, So it's personally, it's just been like that to me.
Kiki, the comments.
Comments.
Oh my gosh, the comments. There's something I saw.
We had something planned for this, didn't we?
It's
going crazy
around to it because everyone's talking. I wanted to let's touch a bit on your fibroids because you've documented your journey with fibroids.
Yeah, I like that.
You've documented that a lot, and which has eventually led to your weight loss journey. Let's talk a bit more about that, Kiki. How was because I remember the last time I saw you, I think it's about 2 years ago that we physically.
Yeah, an event. Yeah, I was like naughty, wasn't I?
Forget that you were naughty.
I don't remember that night.
No, I'm not pregnant. I'm just okay. Sorry.
Yeah, I told you. A lot of people ask me.
What have you learned on your fibroids journey? Is it like? By the way, did they tell you a cause? What causes fibroids? Do you know?
Because I like my biological stuff. Again, my background is in science as well. There's no known causes for fibroids, but then we do know that it affects women of color more than Caucasians. You understand? And unfortunately, it was me at a very young age. I met you at the event, which is I think I actually told you before you asked me, didn't I? Because I've always been like this conscious of like, oh, my bum is a bit my belly is a bit bigger than usual, and I don't think. I don't think I shared my fibroid journey before then when I met you at the event. And then I didn't. So yeah.
You told me you had fibroids.
Yeah, but a lot of people just assume when they met me that you're pregnant. I also didn't have any I didn't have any problem with that because then again it's visible, what they can see. But using that as a way of discrediting my voice, even when I tell you otherwise, is what annoyed me, really.
Wait, how did they use that to discredit your voice?
Oh, people said, "Oh, you've been lying to young girls. Now you're pregnant."
Oh,
Even
yeah.
when I said I'm not pregnant, it's fibroids. You understand? People said you're lying because you're lying that you have fibroids for popularity, and I'm like, excuse me, do you know, like, do you know what weight I have to carry around? You know? Yes. I mean, I was 91 kg before my surgery, and after my surgery, I was 83 kg. So you have to imagine the weight. Or I don't know if there was a weight loss in between the surgery and whatever, but yeah. But yeah, so people just use that to discredit my voice. And do you know what happened that I sat really well with me? I wasn't happy, but it just proved that life karma is a bitch. You know, one of the girls who said that you have fibroids because you're a lesbian. If you turn your way to Jesus, the fibroids will go away. She just got diagnosed with fibroids, and I'm like, okay, are you a lesbian now? Let's have this conversation. Because according to your definition of what, you know, it's an illness. So are you then saying that we're a lesbian? But one of the things that I actually enjoyed, Goretti, without throwing shade, because that's what I'm doing at the moment, isn't it? I like the fact that I shared my fibroid journey. I like the fact that the fibroid journey has been able to resonate with a lot of women across the globe. I mean, I had a conversation with a Japanese woman telling me that, because she found me on Facebook, sorry, on Instagram, which I have a very massive following than I would assume than Facebook. And she said, oh yeah, she saw my story and they've said she should have a hysterectomy and she doesn't want to have one, even though she already has 2 kids. You know, and I said, seek a second opinion, because that's what they told me at first. The first time I consulted with my consultant. So I've been able to touch people. I've been able to have conversations across the globe. I recently just had a girl who is a KB reader as well. She went to bingo and she had the fibroid removed, even though when she was in Douala, they said she has to have her uterus removed as well. So it's been that journey of linking up or sharing with women who are taught to hide pain, you know, to be a strong Black woman. That's a disservice to us as Black women, you understand? But I've just had that conversation around women, around them and the pain, around them trying to have babies because the fibroids are in their wombs, they're outside the uterus, they're with the babies, they're having miscarriages. So I've just had that wide range of conversations. And to be honest with you, it's really add to my persons as a woman, as well as just my empathic.
Do you mind if I share the picture?
Yeah, go on.
So is this with the fibroids still on the left?
No, I already had the surgery. That's what they had the line.
Oh yeah, that's why I have that line. That was yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So it was a very difficult journey. I remember and I have to just say shout out to my Basel sister, Fondive Sandra. You know, the actress. You should know her. Yeah. I remember sitting down and then she called me in the middle of the night and she asked me, because she saw the commotion on Facebook. Most of the times people just come and claim their support on my comments and that's it. But she called me and she asked me, how are you? How are you doing, Kiki? And I sat there, Kiki, they're resilient. You know, I started crying. And I was like, if it doesn't come out now, I'll cut it out myself. She was like, don't you dare take it out. Don't you? And as I'm talking to you now, I have goosebumps. But she's like, don't take it out. Don't you dare try. Can I pray for you? And I said, yes. I don't believe in prayers. But, I just like, yes. Whatever will give me comfort, whatever energy I can have around me. And we prayed and I felt better about it, you know. But yeah, it just brought a different level of energy around me.
Biologically, what did you find out about fibroids? What did they say? Obviously, they said there's no known cause, but how did that manifest for you until diagnosis? What were the symptoms?
Oh, yes. Some of the symptoms were pelvic pain, lower back pain, like really floored when menstruating. You know, so most of the time when I was on my menses, I couldn't leave the house unless my period, which I like to call. I couldn't leave the house. If I laugh, you know, it's like everything goes down my leg and stuff like that. And also the baby bump, the visible baby bump is one of the symptoms as well. And there's this how I found out about my fibroids is I was in a sexual engagement with one of my girlfriends, my exes, and then she touched my lower tummy. I was like, why is the lower tummy so hard? I was like, it's not everybody's lower tummy so hard. I said, no, yours is different. So that's when I had to go for a check, like a STD check, It wasn't fibroid at the time, you know, and I found out I didn't have any STDs. I was like, no, I didn't say anything. But she was like, but your scrotum is too hard. It's not supposed to be like that, because people's stomachs are a bit softer than that. You understand? So one of the things is, the key things is very hardness on your lower, really like lower around the, how do you call that? The hairy part.
Come on.
Yeah, you know, so it's just like low, like really lower tummy pad. It gets really hard. It hadn't, you know, because of the fibroids as well. And one of the things as well is that you become very anemic. You have less iron because of the fibroids it's feeding and all that. But one of the things that I discovered after my research with having fibroids is the fact that drinking, which I drink a lot, also contribute to increases the fibroids or increases symptoms or whatever. I realized that there's some certain foods that have estrogen. Is it estrogen? That aggravates the fibroids as well.
Like what, for example?
I can't remember the food, to be honest. You're putting me on the spot because I wasn't ready to talk about fibroids.
Research.
I don't want. I don't want to like say something that would. I don't want to, you know, take on when after this video is done.
So because there is some research, but I couldn't find a lot on Black women, but there's an African American study that says that 25% of African American women will have fibroids.
That 25% is a bit low, to be honest.
Wow. So did you find other research?
No, I did a lot of research, but I think that's a very low number, because some people don't experience fibroids the way I did. For example, I shared my fibroid experience with a close friend, and she said to me, like, I have fibroids as well, so that's not a big deal. But has manifested in a very different way. She didn't have the big tummy, she didn't have the backache pain, the hormonal issues, the iron levels, because I almost passed that when I went to the shopping center. You know, that's how bad it was. I was tired all the time, fatigue and stuff like that. You understand? So people do have fibroids that they don't necessarily get diagnosed. One of the things that is very peculiar within the women of color society is that we are not very keen on going to the hospital for checkup, even if we just want to just check if everything's okay. We don't do that. You understand? So some of these things get undiagnosed and they get under the radar. You understand? But yeah, I think the number is much more than that. It's higher than that, to be honest with you.
Wow. Anyway, ladies, fibroids is real, because it seems to be coming. I'm not going to say exactly rampant, but there are a lot more people who get fibroids nowadays. So it's really good.
I mean, in Cameroon, we call it growth.
Yes, I'm wondering though. I wonder if, because some time ago I was doing some research on it because my friend had it, and I'm wondering if there's a correlation between our food and the fibroids. I don't know. I can't. Watching, can you enlighten us on that? But this is good. I mean, right now you have lost so much weight. I think after that, is this quarantine?
I am single, no, just in case. One of my friends said that.
You're in the
One of my friends said that, Kiki, stop disturbing us about this YouTube and single stuff. Why rest? I'm like, until I get attached, you'd hear it for the rest of your life.
Don't worry.
But part of it is just fun. It's just making sure that I keep the representation as well. You know, me saying that I'm single and I need a woman, it's just part of being visible. It's like in a way, clever activism. Let's just say that.
They say your confidence too much. But anyway, good, which is good. I mean, for the role that you've chosen for yourself, being a very, very vocal LGBTQ. By the way, Kiki, I know we're at the end of this, but LGBTQ, can you tell me which is which? I do, but for the sake of those who are watching, it's L stands for.
If I'm a bit sweaty, it's just light, you know, with my YouTube stuff. Yeah. But anyways, the L stands for lesbians, the the G stands for gays, the B stands for bisexuals, the what?
LGBT, transsexuals.
The T stands for transsexuals, Q stands for questioning. For example, if you're not sure where you are or where, you know, it's just, And there's I for.
There's many more now because there's
non-binary, there's pansexual. Yeah, there's pansexual for people
pansexuals. There's so many now.
Yeah,
I mean, the spectrum is quite getting wider and wider. But anyway, I mean, this has been a conversation.
Can we just talk about my business part, please? Because
we're not done. We're not done yet. I'm just trying to if you see the comments, everybody's like, go back to the lesbianism bit. I'm like, guys, Kiki, before being a lesbian, Kiki is a young lady. She's she's somebody's daughter. She's somebody's sister. She's somebody's friend. She's somebody's soon-to-be girlfriend. Yeah, fingers crossed. So
wife. I don't want girlfriend now.
Wife, great. Okay, so she's looking for for the ring. So
I can give the ring. In lesbian relations, there's no gender roles and all that. I can give you the ring if you're up to the bar.
I've learned that now. So you can give the ring. So, but Kiki, you are, like I said earlier in my opening, you are a serial entrepreneur, and I really love that about you. And I just really want you to tell us a bit about those that we know, which we know about Kikum or Juju.
Kikum Consulting, yes.
Consulting.
Yeah.
So you came here to be a biologist. You ended up being almost our #1 blogger, and then Cameroonian blogger, and then now you know your LGBT obviously activism has taken, it's international now. I mean, when I was doing the research on you, Cameroonians didn't even know how big you are internationally. I commend you for that. But you've used that platform, you've leveraged it brilliantly because you have your own businesses on the side. So tell us a bit more about business or entrepreneur Kiki.
Yeah. So anyways, I do have 2 official and public businesses registered here in the UK, which is Kikum Consulting, which is a marketing platform or marketing consultancy. I do have Remclan, which is a gender neutral apparel company, inspired by everything LGBT and African. I do think that even though I am I started off as a microbiologist here in the UK, I have a knack for marketing. I have a knack for amplifying voices. I have a knack for what would make news and what wouldn't make news, as well as what would then become a bigger brand. You understand? Yeah. And this need for marketing was born out of the conversations I'd had with KB readers or KB or Kinaka's blog clients who came to me and asked me, why don't you do this? You seem to be good at it. You understand? So from then on, I have consulted with NGOs within the Cameroonian, the local Cameroonian community. I have consulted with politicians. I don't want to mention anybody's name because obviously because my sexuality then gets attached to them as well. Yeah. I have consulted with small medium enterprises within the African community. I have also volunteered as a social media manager with the Queer Women in Business, which is in South Africa, which I did go to South Africa last year, November, for the Queer Women in Business plus Alice Summit as well. I have also then leveraged that business part of me to be a trustee, because part of my trustee, or part of me being part of the UK lesbian and gay immigration group, was the fact that I am a marketer and I do have a knack for what should be what is acceptable or what is not acceptable on social media. You understand? So I've then leveraged that as well. So it's generally not just about leveraging my sexuality, is leveraging my brains.
Your brain.
You know, I do, because sometimes people just assume that I'm 100% fully, my identity is all about being queer and lesbian and all that. No. And I want to say this to you listening. I am a smart woman. I do have other identities. I identify as a woman. I identify as lesbian. I identify as an entrepreneur. I identify as an immigrant here in the UK. I identify as a Black woman. You understand? So I do have different identities that come together. You understand? I do have other business engagements that I don't like to put out because of the homophobia that gets attached to everything you do. Yeah, it's everything that I do. You understand? Because people just assume, again, like, oh, if she has these thoughts, then they must come from the fact that she's a lesbian. No, that's not it. I can just be me and have these thoughts. I mean, I've always one of the things that were quite very laughable again as well was the fact that I brought out after coming out, I said something about misogyny, and people were like, "You're saying that because you're lesbian," but they didn't have the same reaction when I said that before I came out as a lesbian. You understand? So my thoughts are being attached to my sexuality, which is not the case generally. But yeah, Kiki is a businesswoman. I'm an opportunist being an immigrant here in the UK in a good way. I don't try to trick people in difficult situations as well as any other thing. I just know what is good for me. One of the things that I told you as well when this conversation started was, before when you initially engaged me in this conversation was like, are we going to be respectful? Are we going to have a conversation in a way that doesn't demean me or it's not condescending to me and my persons? So, yeah, so I see the opportunity here is that I have to teach or share my truth, but I can't do that at the detriment of my persons, if that makes sense. And that's why I've turned down quite a few number of opportunities like this, or show or platforms like this to speak on during the pandemic. You understand? But generally, I'm just an opportunist, and I know what I want. I know what is good for me. I don't jump on every other thing. I don't try to become everybody's friend. I don't try to have a market everywhere. I know my market, and I do understand that I am not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. And I'm not just saying this as a queer woman in business or a lesbian in business. I'm saying this to you listening to me. If you stop forcing yourself on people, stop wanting to be accepted by everybody. People are not going to drink you, whether you want it or not. You're not jollof rice. You're not ice cream. You can't make everybody happy. Just be you. The moment you accept yourself, the moment you sit within you and like, do you know what? I'm Kiki. I am Bandy Kiki. People begin to feed on that energy. You begin to find your tribe. For example, you have the woman experience.
Right.
The tribe comes. It all comes together. People pivot towards you. People who have the same line of thoughts, the same narratives, the same who want to hear what you're saying. Believe you me, whether you're a prostitute, whether you're a scammer, there are people out there who want to hear your thoughts.
Hush Puppy was an example, wasn't he?
What?
Hush Puppy, the Nigerian scammer.
Exactly.
He had millions of followers.
People identify with him. So share your thoughts in a way that's unapologetic, in a way that doesn't ask for permission. Because when you start asking for permission, that's when it becomes a problem. For example, now I had a client who sold a bleaching cream, and I wanted to present the cream as bleaching cream, because then that's what they are. But because of the backlash, they were like, oh, let's sell it as hyperpigmentation cream. I was like, no. The people who are judging you are not your clients. You want to use cream, don't want to hear hyperpigmentation. You want to hear bleaching cream. They'll buy it. So why then are you hiding behind something that doesn't necessarily sell your brand? You understand? That's just to say that I'm without judgment and I just go business-wise. I'm just business, to be honest with you. But I wouldn't work with somebody who's homophobic because I feel like it then
personal to you.
Yes, personal to me. Yeah,
I understand that. Oh wow! So this is Kiki in her entirety. We've come to know the fullness of Kiki, right?
Yeah.
But you talked a lot about how you wanted to be presented on this platform and how you wanted it to be. How have you found the Woman Experience Tribe? How have we been?
To be honest with you, it's been brilliant. I have had I've had situations where I've been in tricky situations where people just ask me like, oh, don't you think you're a sinner? They're not asking me, they're asking for themselves. You understand what I mean? And I don't mind that, but don't demean me, don't try to be condescending or try to talk about my views in a way that doesn't necessarily sit down with me perfectly. You understand? But I found this quite very enlightening. I've found your guests or your viewers polite. In a way, because I didn't expect they were like, okay, they're going to be like, you evil spirit. That's what I'm used to. It sits, and when you said when you did mention that Abu Gilbert was part of the conversation at the beginning, I was a bit worried because when I came out as a lesbian, if most of you know my story, you know that Abu Gilbert went online on Facebook and said that he would rip the spirit of lesbianism out of me if I did land myself in Cameroon, which a lot of people cheered on, even women cheered on as well, which I found very problematic given the rampant rape cases in Africa or in Cameroon and Nigeria and the rest of across the board. You understand? So when you did mention that he was part of this conversation, I'd be like, okay, he better not ask any questions. That's disrespectful. I've also found that most of the time people tend not to listen to me, but sexualize me. You understand? In a way, being lesbian is more acceptable than being gay. because men can then fantasize about having two women in bed.
Yeah.
You understand? So, but the questions have not been sexualizing me. They've just been very respectful and just about trying to learn about my experience. I do apologize fully if I came across a bit defensive, because it's something that I'm sensitive about. It's what I get every day. So some of the things rubbed a bit differently, like, okay, maybe I should, but I do apologize. But you guys have been brilliant. I love the questions, and respectfully, I've enjoyed this.
I'm glad you have. One last question. Does all this bullying extend to your family? Like, because I know you have siblings. Does it extend to them?
My you know what, we do have a don't ask, don't tell relationship within my siblings.
Are they in Cameroon, by the way, or are they abroad?
Yeah, they're all in Cameroon. I did have my brother here, but he moved back. I had in London. He did a master's in finance, but he moved back. But yeah, so I do have a don't ask, don't tell relationship with my siblings, but something within me, I don't know why, but that's what I would do for them if they were in my situation. But I do feel like even though some of them might not agree with me in all my identities and all that, but they protect me.
Great.
Yes. So I don't think like they'll come to me and be like, this person said this. I feel like they'll deal with it like, shut up, and my sister that's Chris, like all that. Yeah. So because that's what I would do for them. I'm very protective. I'm a very protective sister, and I'm not very judgmental when it comes to siblings and all that, because how can we fix it? How can we handle it? You understand? What will make you happy? That's the sort of sister that I am. So I feel like they really protect me. So I've not heard anything from them like, this person said this person said that. But then again, that's what I would do for them. That's what I'm assuming that's what they do for me.
And with this law in Cameroon, and you being such a vocal LGBTQ activist, and with Cameroon being one of those African countries that criminalizes homosexuality, are you ever going to go home?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I have to.
I think you're not worried.
I am worried. Of course, everybody's worried. It's not just about sexuality, but the Cameroon, the Anglophone crisis, or the struggle going on with, so I'm definitely worried about that. If you followed my story, you definitely know that I wasn't there when my mom passed. I didn't see her grave, so I need to go see her grave. You understand? Even if I would hire a plane to land me in my compound by the grave, I would go there. But I feel like preaching the gospel of acceptance and homosexuality abroad is a bit comfortable, and it's something that I don't want to just do all my life, sit in the UK and say that, oh, you can come out, you can embrace your sexuality and all that. I want to really go back home and have these conversations. You understand? It depends also some of the things that I would do, or how I would then approach these conversations, or approach the exposure of these conversations, and the whole going back home would depend on who is sponsoring the conversation. Am I going on behalf of this organization? Am I going on behalf of myself? Because I then know that there's no organization backing me, my journey back to Cameroon. And then again, if I end up in jail, it's down to me and all that. But then again, if I have support from foundations, if I have support from organizers, then it's a different conversation as well. But I think most of the time when I think about going back to Cameroon, I think about sneaking in, going to Seoul, and then going back to Yaoundé Douala and having a good time,
But you should get in touch with Metro Alice Nkom. She's a lawyer and a very prominent activist. She's really been trying to fight the government to decriminalize homosexuality. So I think that's who you should get in touch with if you plan to go home.
I am a massive fan of hers. I find her very intriguing. I find her resilience inspirational.
You are very resilient yourself.
Thank you.
Why? Because if you face that kind of discrimination and homophobia from such a young age, you build, like you say, you build layers. So you are very
layers. Yeah. But yeah, I'm quite very very. I don't know if she's Mrs. or Miss of Com. I am quite very massive fan of her. I think she's doing a very big service as far as LGBTQ rights are concerned. I think she is she doesn't have secondary aims. I do find that some of the times when you have people, for example, I had a girl, a KB reader, come to my page and like, oh, being lesbian is cute, it's okay, just let people be. And then people assume, my KB readers who are queer assume that she was lesbian. I went to her inbox and asked her out, and immediately she screenshotted everything and put it out like, I'm not a lesbian, no. Stop approaching me. You know, so that's like self-serving. You understand?
Yeah.
So you post a certain way and you're not necessarily a certain way. You understand? But I do find Alice, like Mrs. or Miss Alice, she is selfless. She is in for the work and rather than the accolades. If that makes sense.
Thank you. So Kiki, I'm going to conclude this now, but I want to ask you, what are your final words to the homophobic community? What would you like them to know? What final words?
Because I'm having this conversation within the Cameroonian LGBTQ community, I'm just going to say that the idea that homosexuality is un-African is laughable and sad. It saddens me deeply to know that we have been beaten down to believe things that are not necessarily what was part of our culture. I want to emphasize that word. It comes like, I want to emphasize that homophobia doesn't necessarily just affect me, it affects you as well, because you might be married to homosexual. I had an incident where a girl was crying to me saying that her brother is being on my comment section insulting me, so that's when she's afraid of coming out because of the reaction, you know, the brother had towards me. You understand? So, and the girl is going through a lot of mental health. You know, there's a conversation about not wanting to leave again, wanting to end her life, you know. So your homophobia doesn't necessarily affect just me, you know, and it affects people around you as well. And to my queer Africans or queer LGBT or Cameroonians listening to this, I love you. Your existence is valid, even when people try to erase you from the African history. We deserve to love and to be in love without any prejudice, without any fear of vigilante executions, without any fear of corrective rape and all that. And just to say that I love you very much. And to anybody going through a hard time, because I went through a mental health issue in 2014, which made me very empathetic towards people who are going through a hard time. I want to say that in 2014, I wasn't Bandy Kiki. I was a nobody, you know, but experiencing that deep dark place built me up to who I am today. It built on my mental capacity. It built up my resilience. It made me unapologetic, because I remember being in that dark space and saying that if I come out of this, I'm never ever going to do anything just to please somebody. Because while I was in the dark space, people were living their lives. People were on Facebook taking pictures of their families and posting, and I was in that dark space. So why then do I have to come out of that dark place and apologize or tell you what I'm doing that should make you happy? So if you're going through domestic abuse, which is not down to heterosexuals, it also happens in homosexual relationships, know that you're loved. I know that it's difficult to come out from it, but I hope you do find strength to come out from it. But yeah.
Kiki, thank you very much. That was a lovely message to us all. I'm just gonna ask you after this, if you can. There's so many questions. If you want to, you can respond to some of them. I mean, again, this is the
teaching. Are some of them single? Are they single?
This is a teaching moment, and again, on the TWE the TWE platform, the Woman Experience platform, what we do is we learn through, like,
I'm so hot. I don't know. I'm so super hot.
I'm boiling.
The lights here, like, it's crazy.
I shared experiences, and which is what you've done. But there's so many questions that I couldn't read all of them. So if you can please find time in your very busy schedule to answer just a few. Especially there's this one that is recurrent from different people about why one be attracted to a person who is genetically a woman and acts like a man. If you can please respond, that there's quite a few of them. So, but thank you, Kiki. It's 2 hours. I told you it'd be an hour and a half, but
yeah, it's okay. I've enjoyed myself, and you've been very respectful and very.
I'm glad you have.
Yes, I've enjoyed myself. If I wasn't, I would like, you know what, bye. I'm quite very like, we're not having this conversation.
No,
I've enjoyed myself. That's
the whole point of this platform. We want to have those difficult conversations and want to learn. You understand? We may not agree with people's choices, but it doesn't stop us from learning, because
I just want to say that massive shout out to you for creating this.
Oh,
I watched your session on mental health. I think you had 2 doctors come on and talk about mental health and stuff like that. It's massive. It's a place where we can talk about sexual health, mental health, and stuff that people don't necessarily want to talk about. Exactly. So massive thank you and congratulations for creating this amazing platform.
Thank you, and people like you and my wonderful tribe, the TWE tribe, make it this amazing. So thank you so much, Kiki. I'm gonna have to let you go, but I'm gonna keep you backstage. Don't log off, don't sign off yet. I'll keep you backstage while I say I
want to pee. I've been drinking water, it's empty. I need to pee.
You can, no, they won't see you, so you can run and go and pee and come back. Don't worry, nobody will see you. So say bye and go and pee.
Bye. How do I leave?
Don't worry, I'll remove you. Go on, you can go now. All right, thank you guys so much. You guys have been amazing, and I really want to commend you for being very respectful on this platform today. I love that we've let her talk, and for many of us who do not agree with Kiki's sexuality, I have one question though. Like, and I know that we have our religion on one hand defending this, and we have our culture on the other hand defending this. But my question is, why would you, can you see past Kiki's sexuality and see Kiki? In the same way I'm asking that, can you learn to see past past others who may be going through this, who may be in the closet, who may be afraid to come out because of our homophobia? Can you try to see past their sexuality and see them as human beings? Because ultimately we are all living an individual experience. And yes, there are laws, there are books, there are so many things that try and govern the way we live our human experience. But every one of our experiences is personal. It is individualized. And so as much as you may not agree with someone's way of life, I think I really want us to get past that, to always try and look past that and look at the human being behind that. And it will help us to be a more tolerable society. And the thing I want to reiterate is that gays and lesbians are here. And as much as a lot of us are trying to protect our, especially those of us who see it as completely wrong biologically, spiritually, in every other way, it is wrong. It's our reality. It is our reality, and so we have to find a way to stop being so hard, judging them so hard. It is so important. And I know so many of you are asking the questions. You're encouraging her to be gay? Will you encourage your child to be gay? And I'm reading all those comments, but I'm thinking, can we for a minute, I can't say that enough, stop looking at her sexuality. When the homosexuals look at us, they are not looking at us as, that one's heterosexual, I shouldn't deal with them. No, they're looking at you as the individual. And so I think we should accord them that same respect, if that makes sense. And but I want to thank you guys. Thank you, my TWE tribe. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for the respect. Thank you for engaging in this conversation, and thank you for helping us to really have this really difficult conversation. It's been amazing. So I will see you guys on Friday, and with another really wonderful wonderful guest. So I'll leave you. Thank you. And for those who haven't yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but please, can you kindly go on our page, like our page, follow our page, and share with your loved ones, please. Thank you very much. If you haven't done that already, please do like and follow. And after this conversation, I'm going to upload it on YouTube, and our pages are the Woman Experience on, sorry, the Goretti Experience on Facebook and the Goretti Experience on YouTube. So go and subscribe while we continue to work. It's not easy, but we're working on different contents to really make our pages exciting. So support us now, yeah? Don't wait until we are big. But support us now. And for those who have been there from the beginning, God bless you. Thank you guys so much. And I'll see you on Friday. So have a lovely evening. I'll see you Friday at 8 p.m. Be here. Bye for now.